the collection of laws or design standards that designers must take into account when thinking and improving the user experience. These are the basic laws that you should know. Number one is Hick's law. Hick's law states that users spend more time making a decision based on the number and complexity of choices. So it basically means the more choices you given to your users, more time they will spend to make a decision. So less number of choices is the better. The more choices you present your users with, the longer it will take them to reach a decision. If you have multiple tasks to complete within a limited time, you will take more time making a decision compared to if you have only two tasks to complete. So for an example, let's say we have two different applications. Let's compare PickMe and Uber. So in PickMe itself, in the dashboard or in the main menu, we have so many options. We have options to book a ride, find a restaurant, or order food, or even find a truck. And there are so many services. But in Uber, they only have two different services. It can be book a taxi or uh, Uber Eats. So if you give so many choices, in that example, the Uber performs better. So users know what they want and they can easily select what they uh, want. So they won't spend so much of time reading and try to make decision what exactly they want. And it will really easy for users as well. So for an example, we can uh, reduce the options for time critical tasks. So when we asking for reviews from our users, the more choices you give your user, the longer it takes for them to make a decision. So if you have this kind of a drop down with how are you feeling today, awesome, amazing, great, fine, and so on, we are giving them so many options. But if you have this kind of a design with only limited number of options, users will choose one very easily. So otherwise, they have to decide how I am feeling. Is it awesome? What is the difference between awesome and amazing? And am I feeling great? And so many options. And this one is ideal if you want your users to make a decision very quickly. Even here in this menu, we have different options. For an example, we have heading and image and small description with the price as well, and we are giving add to cart button right here. So it is a good user experience. So for an example, let's say you have a menu in your restaurant website and you have to categorize them based on different flavors and so on. So it will be a good practice, and users will spend less time making decisions. So if you have so many choices in your menu, even physically in a restaurant, users will take much time to make a decision. So, but if you have very few or categorized menu or something like that, it will take very less time for them to make a decision. This is another option that most of the e-commerce websites follow, Amazon, Flipkart, or anything. They give direct buy now button in the product display page. And even Quora or any other application, they provide you to sign up with Google or continue with Facebook buttons for you to sign up very easily without providing your email address or anything. If you already have Google account or Facebook account, you can easily sign up without filling out their forms or anything like that. And then we have break down complex processes into small steps. So if your website has a checkout process and you need information from them, what you can do is you can step them, uh, like you can put them in steps. So this website has 4 steps. First, we have to edit basic details and enter company and select subscription plan, and finally do the payment. So if I can show you an example. So we also use this kind of layout. So it has 3 different steps. The first one, we have to enter location details. This is actually for the lost items. So we have to enter location details, and then we have to put item details, and we can upload image. And finally, we are asking for the personal details and the payment. So in that way, we can lesser users cognitive load, as well as we can give them uh, more better user experience, because they only have to focus on location details here, and then after they complete that, they can go to this step and finally to the final step to do the payment. So most of the website that involve so much of form filling, and if we want to get much data about users, you can implement this kind of a step process in your designs. And number three, categorize choices to make them easier to search for and identify. So if you go to websites like Netflix and Spotify, and they categorizing different movies and different music based on the preferences that you put when signing up, and also uh, what they learn from you when following your watching or listening habits. Number four, highlight recommended options. So as you can see in here, we have two buttons. The number one, the no thanks button is not highlighted, but this is the recommended option that that developer wants us to click. So that one is highlighted. Even here, the recommended option, they have highlighted the recommended options and show them on top of the page. All right, that is Hick's law. Now this is Fitt's law. Fitt's law states that the larger the distance and smaller the size of the target, the longer it will take. According to this law, fast movements and smaller targets results in greater error rates due to speed accuracy trade-off. So in order to avoid that, you can create larger targets, increase surface area of call to action buttons, minimize movements, make some actions harder than others. So call to action buttons are something like this. So you can uh, pay. So this is we are calling them for take an action. So this button and sign up button and contact button. So those are call to action buttons. Those are really important uh, in lead generation in websites. So number one, create larger targets, which means we have to create bigger buttons, target buttons, and increase the surface area of call to action buttons. So you have to increase the surface area of call to action buttons like this. Minimize movement. So if as soon as users read this content, we have to place our buttons right next to it. So if we place our button something below in the footer or somewhere that users have to scroll or move their mouse, it won't be that good. Make some actions harder than others. For an example, here, uh, let's say you have a Facebook account or Instagram account or some other social media, LinkedIn account. If you want to deactivate your account, you have to follow certain steps. You first have to go to your account, and then you have to find account settings, and then you have to deactivate. And even when you are deactivating, they will ask questions such as to enter your password or enter whatever the text that they are given in red color. And those are the examples of how they make it harder, some actions than others. Sign up is really easy, whereas leaving a platform is somewhat hard when comparing to signing up. The smaller your target area is, the longer it takes the user to perform that action based on the distance size ratio. So in here, this sign up form, we have the buttons, larger target area. The continue button is larger, and even mobile number sign up or Facebook sign up is larger. Even these input elements are larger. So users can easily interact with it and do their task. And even in Figma or any other image or design tool, we have placed commonly used functions together to reduce the cursor movement. So for an example, if we switch off development mode, all these commonly used items are placed in similar place. So users can easily interact. It is not only for Figma, for Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe XD or anything. They are using similar elements in a one place. So users can interact with them very easily without moving their mouse uh, much. And here we made our call to action button larger. So users can easily distinguish it with other elements and click whatever the button that you developer wants to click. Because at the end of the day, most of these designs, the web development, web design, or the mobile design, what we do is we want to people to sign up, or we want them to become a lead. So lead generation is important. That is why these call to action buttons should be prominent in your design. So users should be able to find it easily and click on it easily and move on with the flow of our design. To prevent frequent accidental shutdowns on their phones, Apple makes users swipe a slider to turn off their phones. So it won't switch off their phone when it is in your pocket or accidental button clicks. And to resign a power off, all users have to do is press the cancel button. So they can come out of it by pressing the cancel button if they don't want to shut down their phone. So even in Android, they are using the same uh, design now. And if you go to some other devices, TVs or smart devices, they are using the similar function. Not the touch function, but you have to, it won't do accidental things like it used to. The cancel button's consequence doesn't compare to turning the phone off. So Apple makes it easier to accidentally press it. So Fitts law for mobile devices. So if you use your mobile device, so as a designer, you have to think of these as well. So when you are designing a layout, this is the natural area. If user is carrying phone with their left hand, this is the natural area. So natural text is the most effective area to put your call to action button. So because they can click it with their thumb without an issue. So this for this part, the light blue part, they have to stretch their hand, and this part is really hard to reach with one hand. And if they are using right hand, opposite to that, this part is the natural part. So you have to place your button here, call to action button here, and some heading here, which doesn't require any clicking or something. Always make sure to put your all call to action, all uh, interactive buttons inside this green color. So if they use both hands to type or something like that, this is the area that you should put your call to action buttons or interactive buttons uh, inside your application for the mobile devices. All right. Now we talked about Hick's law and Fitts law, and this is Jacob's law. Jacob's law states that when users are used to using a product, users build their expectations around one familiar product that appears similar. So for an example, let's say users used to one mobile banking application or some mobile wallet application like PayPal or any other crypto application. So they are when they are downloading a new application, they have some things that they expect. So they learn something by using these applications previously, and they want to apply same knowledge that they already learned in your application. So you always have to make sure you follow these standards. So if you, let's say for an example, we have a e-commerce application. In e-commerce applications, most of the time, the search bar is on top. So that is ideal. So that is the standard that they maintained from the beginning. So users are expecting your website to behave the same way, have the search bar on top, and maybe categorize your items based on different categories. So you have to make sure you give your users what they are expecting. If you try out something new, so you don't place your search bar on top, you place it on the bottom, and you don't categorize it based on the standard categorization. And users have to relearn about your website. So most of the time, they will leave your website and try to find a familiar experience that they already interacted with. So make sure to follow your competitors and uh, previous websites and use these standards on websites. So it will ease up users' thinking process, and they don't have to think because they already know what is the flow and what they have to do to find their product and buy it. Number two, because users spend most of their time on other websites, they expect your site to work the same way as other sites they have already visited. So as I mentioned, for instance, think how Amazon, Myntra, and most of the e-commerce sites behave. They follow similar patterns, similar checkout process. Most of the mental models are almost same. This way, users will focus on their task rather than learning new models. So if you go to websites like Amazon or eBay or even Daras.com, they have similar kind of a layout. They have logo up here and the categorization and search bar here and some products, deals up here. So users are expecting your website to behave in the same way. So try to make sure, actually make sure you provide your users with what they already expecting, what they already learned. So they don't want to learn something new uh, when visiting your website. So they can easily follow their pre-learned design patterns and uh, maybe check out your website, check out a product from your website. Both the e-commerce websites using the same size selection option and following the buttons and information on the right side and image on left. So if we compare these two websites, you can clearly see the image of the product on the left-hand side and some other images and all the information, the price information, the sizes and description, delivery options and everything on the right-hand side. So that means that users can interact easily. So when you are visiting a website, we always tend to read from left to right. So left side is where your eye is going. For an example, by visiting their website, you can clearly see this image, and then you can click the buttons on right hand side and select the product that you want to buy. A great example is designing a page with a search bar. Users are accustomed to seeing the search bar near the top of the page, often with a magnifying glass icon. So even here we have a search bar with a magnifying glass icon. So it is actually universal standard to use your search bar on top, because users can interact with it easily and they can find what they are looking for without an issue. So magnifying glass is so represent the same search uh, function. If a designer decides to place the search bar in a completely new place on the page, it can create confusion for the user. If they want to continue using your site, they have to relearn where the search bar is, taking the extra time. So as I mentioned, if you don't place your search bar in a recommended or mostly used place, they have to relearn their thinking process, or they have to relearn the whole process that you have to do in your website. So most of the time, it will confuse your users and they won't come back, or they won't visit your website uh, if they have a bad user experience. So Best Buy have a search bar positioned on top, and even if you compare others websites, especially e-commerce websites, they have search bar on top, just like this. Miller's law states that an average person can only keep 7 plus or minus in their working memory. Organizing content in smaller chunks will help users to understand, process, and memorize easily. So as I mentioned, even for the typography, we have very limited memory. We can only keep a certain number of text or words in our memory, digits or whatever in our memory. So you have to present this with your design in a limited number of chunks. So users can use their working memory, or it won't give them much cognitive load. So they can memorize and do the tasks easily and process easily. Display information in chunks. This way, it is manageable to users to remember what they consumed. So for an example, the left-hand side has so much of visualization. So they don't actually uh, have to follow up each and every visualization to get to know what is happening. So when comparing to right-hand side example, it is only giving two main visualization, the graphs. So you can give them very limited number of visualization and get them used to it and give them a better user experience than one with the so many options. So if you take Android operating system, the toggle keys are limited to 6 in the notification panel, reducing the cognitive load of the user. So if you display all the setting elements on one go, users have to scan each and every one of these icons. But in here, they only have the mostly used icons, and they can easily drag down their sticker and access other elements as well. So always make sure give them a lesser number, ideally 6 toggle keys or whatever the options in their in your designs. So on sliding the notification panel, users get a view of quick panel setting where toggle keys are placed in rows and columns, making it easier for users to follow. Now in here also breaking checkout process into steps and creating spaces for card numbers. So as I mentioned, the first we are asking for customer info and then shipping info, and finally the payment selection. Even in the payment selection, we have put it just like a physical card where you can uh, refer to your front side of the card and fill in the card number, name of the card and expiry date, and finally flip your card and put the CVV code. All right. So if you have a sign up form like this, let's say you have to ask them for your personal information like name, email address, phone number, and then let's say we are asking for their educational qualifications and so on. So if we place them in a uh, like one layout without categorizing them, without giving them white space, it is a really bad user experience. So if you can categorize them and put them in different groups, it will give better user experience and most of the users will fill the form without an issue. Okay, next we have serial position effect. This law states that we tend to remember the first and the last item in the series. There are two main concepts involved in the serial position effect. Number one, primary effect. The tendency to recall the first item is called the primary effect because we require less processing effort in rehearsing the item. Recency effect. The tendency to recall the last item is called the recency effect because our working memory preserves temporary information. So if I tell you a list of names, for an example, most of you tend to remember the first name and the last name because your attention, when I start telling the list of names, your attention is maximum. And even when I tell the last name, it is where that you give most attention. In between, we are not giving that much of attention. So that is why serial position effect is also uh, effective when you are doing your designs. Highlight key information in the beginning and the end while placing the least important items in the middle of your sequence. So if you are having a checkout page or something like that, and you can place your order details here, and you can put your terms of services or privacy policy or payment terms or whatever, the text right here and call to action button down here. So it will uh, give users much attention. Like for an example, they can remember the first part and they can ignore this part, the terms and condition. Most of the users won't read it and they can directly go to the final one. Uh, NFS speedometer is on the right side and the map is on the left side of the display. So this is another example. The users will follow the location that they are in and then they can follow the speed as well while playing the game. Instagram bottom navigation is on the left side and the profile option is on the right side, and all the least important options are in the middle. So you can easily navigate. So it is again this law I told you about, the screen positions where users can access easily. So for an example, Instagram using this part to uh, post some new item, and this part is also very reachable for users. So all the most required items are on left and right side corners, whereas the other icons are in the middle. Okay. So what we can do to overcome these uh, things mentioned in these laws, number one, we can maintain task relevant information within the user interface. So for an example, we have these buttons here. So we can, so even in Figma, we have task relevant information. For an example, let's say I select this. So all the task relevant information will show up here. You can categorize it. You can select tiles. You can select multivariants and so on. So all the things show up on top. And even here in this layout, it clearly show what is the page we are in because they are highlighting it, and all the grid and ruler and everything are there. So you can design your graphic or whatever you are designing very easy with these guidelines and rulers and everything. Number two, limit the amount of recall required. So in this shopping cart, we have filters chosen by the user, and there are sorting options as well. So if they want to remove one filter, they don't have to remove everything. They just can click on this cross icon and it will remove the shoe size or whatever, and they can browse without an issue. Or maybe they can select different filter based on their requirement. Number three, empathize key information in the beginning and the end. So if I take this example, in Apple website, they have emphasized key information in the beginning. So they just put the whatever the name and small slogan, and then in the end they are asking you to buy the product. So in between they are telling the story about their product, what are the features and everything. But most important things are introduce you to their product and finally uh, sell it to you. So those are the things that they put on top and in the end. Okay, next we have Zeigarnic Effect. This happens with all of us. When we have some important task to do and when we forget to do it, we tend to feel bad about it. This is the Zeigarnic Effect. It states that we remember uncompleted and uninterrupted tasks more than the completed task. So most of the applications, especially LinkedIn, are using this effect to make users fill their profile, make users to complete their profile. So if you don't fill your profile, if you don't put your educational experience or working experience in your profile, they will show the progress bar. Your profile is 80% completed. Your profile is this percent completed, and you have to complete your profile whenever you are signing up. So most of the users want to complete their profile when they prompt this kind of an interface. So this is LinkedIn profiles. Strength meter shows one step remaining for expert profile. So this user will tend to complete this profile every time they're signing up. Step tracker showing remaining steps. So if you use an exercise application or uh, tracking application, they will show the number of steps that you have taken. You can set goals. You have to take 2000 steps a day, and it will show that you haven't completed the number of steps that you put on, and even the number of calories you burned. You haven't burned enough calories today. So users tend to do these actions to fill and complete these tasks that they prompt in front of them when using these applications. Okay, next we have one Restorff effect. It is also known as the isolation effect. This effect predicts that when multiple similar objects are present, the one that differs from the rest is most likely to be remembered. So in here, we have highlighted elements like a call to action to stand out from the rest of the design. it is easily noticeable by the user. So you have different uniform elements. For an example, the image, the text, and everything in same color, but call to action button is different. It stands out in the layout. So most of the users will remember and they click this particular action to sign up or fill the form or make the payment or anything. So that is what this effect is about.